All right, so the last thing I'm going to go over is how I would go about revising my paper and picking through what doesn't need to be there, what's repetitive, things like that. I already know off the bat that I do have some repetition in terms of words. So, like communication, other words I could use are discourse, um, interaction, um, communication. Maybe I'll come back to that. I also use the word advantage and disadvantage a lot, especially with some of these prompts. I mean, this is just prone to happen because of the nature of them, but it is good to kind of come up with a list of synonyms for yourself. Um, so, benefits versus handicaps. Um, Strengths versus weaknesses. Really, I think that's all I really got. But here are some words that I can start switching things out for. So as I'm reading through, I'm going to read aloud to myself so I can pick out things that are repetitive. I might also combine some sentences and stuff because I do know it sounds repetitive at times. But I just want to make sure that each of those steps is done. So our consensus paragraph again, we're arguing that monolinguals are at an intellectual disadvantage. Monolinguals are at a disadvantage intellectually when compared to their multilingual counterparts. In his article posted to a website focused on higher education, Russell Berman asserts that students who conquer a second language do better in their first. Students who elect not to take on the challenge of multiple language therefore will not have the same excellence with their first. Rereading this, it kind of sounds like if we're looking at our steps in analysis, that's kind of linking to my claim instead of um, talking about the intellectual benefits. Um, so I'm going to kind of backtrack here and add a sentence and then see what I can get rid of. The students who conquer a second language do better in their first. This means that because they have learned a new language, students show greater cognitive understanding of their native tongue. Okay, students who elect not to take on the challenge of multilanguage therefore will not have the same excellence with their first. And then I'm going to kind of combine these, resulting in an obvious disadvantage to those opting out of language acquisition. Okay, so what I realized is this sentence, my prior one, was not really explaining how this links to the intellectual growth that students see, so I wanted to refine that. And then I kind of simplified these two sentences because they were repetitive. Next part says, similarly, Catherine Porter, cited in Ursula Oak's blog titled Foreign Language Learning, stated that these multilingual students consistently display enhanced cognitive abilities relative to their monolingual peers. This heightened cognitive ability, that's, what's a different word for ability maybe? I'll say skill, will set multilingual students apart intellectually. This is an example of really like simple analysis. I haven't really said why it's going to set them apart. So, multilinguals apart intellectually because they have been proven to consistently show, I think I already said greater ability somewhere. Yeah. Show more skill with critical thinking and cognitive practices. Okay, so there again, I'm just explaining a little bit further because this was kind of simple. Because they have these stronger abilities to make connections and think critically, that's kind of repetitive now. Because of this heightened ability, the multilingual student will always have the advantage over the monolingual. It is clear to see, therefore, that with limited cognitive abilities will not achieve the same. Okay, that's saying the exact same thing as the sentence before. So I talked about this cognitive ability, but I also talked about how they're better at their first. So maybe I should refine that. It is clear to see, therefore, that with limited cognitive ability and less mastery of their native language, monolingual students will not achieve the same as their multilingual peers, placing them at a clear handicap. Okay, those revisions are good. Like what I said is I did a lot of combining if it was repetitive, or like in the case of this sentence, adding more explanation. Okay?